On day 1, I spawned in as SHREK. I'm a powerful ogre. No wait, I'm a tiny baby ogre. Nice. Just then, I heard a plop and saw a slime was headed right at me. That's when I noticed I only had a few hearts. I've got to get out of here. I took off running. I was in no state to be fighting anything. Just when I thought I had gotten away, I noticed I had almost run into an entire group of slimes. Whoa, wrong way. I quickly turned and ran off in another direction. This swamp is a dangerous place. Luckily for me, I soon saw a cave and jumped inside. Phew, I think I lost them. I better lay low for the night. I looked around the cave and saw there were a few mushrooms. I picked a few of them and scarfed them down. Where is my family? I'll have to look for them tomorrow. I plopped down in the dirt and went to sleep. On day 2, I woke up and headed out of my cave. There's just got to be more people like me out there. I took another bite of mushrooms. Ugh, these mushrooms aren't very good. Ogres like me are going to need something better to eat than that. I'll have to figure that out later though. I started exploring the swamp when I came across a frog sitting on a lily pad. Hey you, excuse me, but have you seen any other ogres around?
I have, but they aren't here anymore. I'm not sure what direction they went though.
Well, at least I know there's some around here for sure. In the meantime, I decided I needed to start getting some tools together, so I started punching trees to collect some wood. With my freshly gathered wood, I then made myself a wooden sword. Then I made myself a wooden pickaxe. I took off into the swamp again, and soon saw a huge tree trunk sitting in a clearing. Whoa, this must have been a huge tree. I think this could make for a perfect place to live. I dug into the side of it and found that it was hollow. I got right to work and started turning the inside into a home. I only had some basic materials, so I wasn't able to do anything super fancy, but it was going to work great for a starter base. Soon, the hut was complete. This will be much better than sleeping in a cave. On day 3, I stepped out of my hut and set off to look for the ogres the frog had seen. To my surprise, I soon stumbled across an entire village of ogres. I can't believe it! I found my ogre family! I walked up to one of them. Hi, you must be my dad.
Your dad? Do I look like a man to you? I'm your mom, silly.
Whoops, that's what I meant. What are you guys doing hiding so deep in the swamp?
You haven't heard? All the king's horses and all the king's men are out here capturing us. The king hates ogres.
Oh no, why would he do such a thing? What happens to the ogres he captures?
He takes them and forces them to live in his dungeon. We don't really know what happens after that.
We talked a while longer, then my mom decided to show me around the village. It was so nice to finally have a family. But suddenly, the village was attacked by a bunch of knights.
Zozo, run! We'll try to hold them off.
I ran and hid while the knights in my ogre family started to fight. They did their best to fight them all off, but it wasn't enough. They took my parents captive and destroyed anyone else who fought back. No, how could they? From my hiding place, I could hear one of my ogre brothers were stuck. Just then, a door opened and I heard a knight run up to him. A block broke as they dropped him through the floor. Am I next? That's when I started to hear explosions as the knights started placing TNT around the village and setting things on fire. Suddenly, I heard some TNT light right by me and an explosion sent me flying. A while later, I emerged from the swamp I had fallen into and saw the village was in ruins, but deserted. Except for a swamp pig, that is.
Oi, ogre! Was it another attack by the king's men?
Yeah, it was. I think I'm the only one left. They took my entire family.
I'm sorry. This keeps happening to ogre families all over the swamp. Someone needs to do something about it.
I agree, but I'm just a baby. Who could possibly fight off a king and his army? I have a hut not too far from here, though. Do you want to stay with me? It might be safer if we stick together.
Safer? Did you see what happened here? The safest place for me is far away from ogres. Sorry, you seem like a nice guy, but I don't think it'll be safe for me.
I understood and left to go back to my hut. I wasn't strong enough to fight an entire army, but the least I could do is make some simple tools to defend myself. I had found a deposit of cobblestone, so I got to work mining out as much of it as I could. Back at my hut, I got right to work, crafting myself a stone pickaxe, sword, shovel, hoe, and axe. Now, let's make some improvements around here. It was time to truly make this hut a home. Using the materials I had gathered, I began fixing up the room and giving myself a few more comforts. I might be here for a long time, so I made everything as nice as I could, given the circumstances. I even made myself a chimney. I definitely didn't want my house to be full of smoke. I also needed to have a food supply, which looked like it was going to be mushrooms for now. I had found a nice damp cave under my base, so I planted some mushrooms there. That night, I was outside of my base when suddenly a bunch of skeletons attacked. Get back, you fleshless creeps! It was a good thing I had made myself a sword because I might not have been able to fight these guys off. I still wasn't very big, but I was still a tough ogre. Soon, all of the skeletons were defeated. Just then, I felt a surge of power and I grew a little bit in size. And check it out, I even gained more hearts. I was feeling good, but it had been a long day, so I headed back into the hut to rest. On days 4 to 5, I went digging in the mine for some coal. It was bad enough having knights attacking ogres, let alone mobs. Once I had collected enough coal, I made myself some torches, then headed outside to set them up. There we go. That should fix my mob problem. Later that night, I was sitting at my table when I heard a noise outside. More skeletons. What's going on here? I fought them off, but realized they must be spawning from somewhere else and walking over. In the distance, I could see more mobs, so I ran toward them, fighting them off one by one. Where are you guys all coming from? I kept following them through the swamp, taking them out as I went. Eventually, I saw a stone structure with a long stairway leading down under the swamp. Uh-oh, this looks like a huge grave. I don't want to go down there, but but I've got to clear these guys out. I headed down the stairs, fighting off zombies. When I got to the bottom, there was a huge group of them. Ah, get away, you brain suckers! There were a lot of them, but they weren't very smart. I got them to all get in a line and started to quickly knock them out, one by one. Eventually, I managed to take the last one out. Phew, I'm glad I got rid of them, but where are they coming from? That's when I had a scary realization. What's inside of the tomb? I nervously cleared the top of the grave and saw there was a spawner inside. Oh, that's the issue. I quickly knocked it out. No more zombie problems for me. Just then, I realized I was really hungry, but I was still a long way away from my base. What was I going to do? I did pick up a bunch of rotten flesh from these guys. I guess it's my only option. I ate a bunch of it and started to feel funny. Although, it wasn't a bad funny, just a funny funny. Suddenly, I let out a big burp, releasing a bunch of toxic gas. I let out a little fart too. I hadn't even noticed a zombie had snuck up behind me, but the gas attack made him run away. Oh, nice! I think I just discovered a powerful ability. I ran back out of the grave. As I came to the top, I saw a donkey come wandering out of the trees.
Oh my word, it's an ogre! Run!
Whoa, hang on a second! The donkey took off running into the trees. He was running so fast, he ran straight into some mud and started sinking.
Oh no, it's the end for me. It's over. I can already see the light.
I ran over closer to him. Here, catch this. I threw a rope out to him, which he grabbed onto. Using that, I managed to pull him out of the mud.
Oh my word, you saved me. You're my hero.
What are you doing all the way out here in my swamp?
Well, I was out here with my family, but they fell into mud just like this. There weren't any ogres around to save them though.
Oh no, that's horrible. The swamp can be a dangerous place. Why don't you come stay at my hut? It's not far.
Oh, you mean it? That would make my year right there.
We started heading back to the hut. By the way, what's your name?
Duncan, just like my father before me. You may be surprised to know it's actually a pretty common name.
We soon arrived back at the hut, which was surrounded by slimes.
Hang on, I'll take them out.
Donkey charged in without warning. He was a feisty little guy, but got hurt almost right away. I had to jump in too. Luckily, slimes weren't very strong, but there were a lot of them. Working together, we managed to clear them all out after a bit of work. That leg doesn't look too good. Come on, you can stay inside. Donkey ran inside and immediately jumped on my bed.
This is gonna be fun. We can stay up late, swapping manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles.
Okay, I guess you can sleep in my bed. I walked over to the armchair and settled in for the night. On day 6 through 8, I started the day by working on a house for Donkey. He was a really nice guy, but I wanted my bed back. I was pretty sure he'd be over the moon when he saw it. Right as I finished, he came running over to me. He was super excited about the new house, but also about what he had found. Just behind the base was a bunch of iron. Nice work, Donkey. I'll go check it out. We ran over to where he had pointed, and sure enough, there was a ton of iron there. I got my pickaxe out and got right to work, mining it all up. With my pockets full of iron, I headed back to the base and filled the furnaces up with iron. While it smelted, I headed back outside to do some more work. I got down in the dirt and carved out a nice path between Donkey's house and my own. I felt like it looked really great. Now let's go check on that iron. The iron had finished smelting, so I used it to make an iron shovel, pickaxe, axe, hoe, and sword. I also had enough to make an iron helmet, chestplate, leggings, and boots. I decided to make Donkey some armor too, just in case he went recklessly charging into battle again. I went outside to meet him. Hey Donkey, I made both of us some iron armor. This should help keep us safe in case we get attacked again.
Nice one, but what are we waiting around for? We've got armor. Let's go defeat the king and save your family.
Donkey, you've got to stop being so reckless. If we just charge into things, we're going to get ourselves hurt. Just then, a giant warped toad came hopping up behind us. Right on cue, Donkey went rushing in and attacked. We're gonna have to work on that. I rushed in as well and we started to fight off the toad. He wasn't super strong, but he sure was big. Together with our new gear though, Donkey and I managed to take him out.
See, we make a great team. We can take the king on.
But don't you see how dangerous that was? We can't just rush into things. We'll need to prepare ourselves if we're going to be taking on an army. Donkey understood, but mentioned he was getting hungry. I tossed over a bunch of mushrooms, which he tossed right back.
Ugh, mushrooms are nasty. Here, I have some carrots from a farm I used to work on. How about we start our own farm with these?
I thought that was a great idea, so I picked them all up and got right to work tilling the ground. Once the farm was ready, I planted all of the carrots. There we go, now Donkey can have a feast. On days 9 to 10, I started my day adding some upgrades to the base, including an outhouse. I had been eating a lot of rotten flesh, so it was better to be safe than sorry. I also had this strange dream where I had met a talking gingerbread man, so I thought it'd be fun to make a giant statue of him. I had started to make the first part out of mud, but once I finished, it didn't look quite right, so I went to have a chat with Donkey. Donkey, you said you used to work at a farm near here, right? Was there wool there?
Oh yeah, tons of wool. Enough wool you can make yourself 1,000,000 winter coats. But don't you know it's hot out here? Why are you making so many coats?
No, not for coats, for a statue.
Oh, well why didn't you say so?
Donkey told me where to go, but warned me that the farmer there isn't very nice, so I'd have to be careful. Later on, I could see the farm in the distance. As I got closer, I snuck up to the farm, but didn't see the farmer anywhere. Psst, hey, do you mind if I grab some of your wool?
You can have as much wool as you want if you can bust us out of here. This farmer is a jerk.
Yeah, sure, I can help you out. Where is that farmer anyway?
What What, you didn't see him? You walked right by him.
As I turned to look around, a stick broke beneath my feet and a tiny, angry goblin came charging at me. He was making a crazy sound, too. Oh, what the heck? Where did you come from? This little farmer goblin was nuts. I tried to talk sense to him, but he just kept making his crazy sounds while he tried to hit me. I took a bite of rotten flesh and could feel myself gassing up. I started letting the burps fly and eventually managed to take him out. Before I went to let the sheep out, I took a look around the farm. Inside of the barn, I found some shears as well as some cocoa beans. This is perfect. Now I can dye the wool brown. From there, I rounded up all of the sheep and headed back toward the base. We took a boat to get across the swamp, and I got right to work building them a new pen. Once their pen was finished, I dyed some of them brown and used the shears to collect the wool. I also took a moment to plant some of the cocoa beans so I could make some cookies later. Oh, and I almost forgot. Using some of the wool, I made an extra bed. There was no way I was going to let Donkey sleep in my bed again. I went and put his new bed in his house, which he was really excited about. On days 11 to 12, I was having a crazy dream. In my dream, I was running through a dungeon and could see my family locked behind bars. I tried to open the door to free them, but it wouldn't budge. Suddenly, I was in a tower that had a long flight of stairs. As I got to the top of the stairs, I saw a fancy door, but it wouldn't open. Nearby, I saw the key. Using the key, I was able to open the door. Inside was the most beautiful ogre I had ever seen in my entire life. She told me that the king was keeping all of the ogres captive, and she needed my help. Suddenly, there was a figure in the doorway. It was the king's henchman. I woke up in a cold sweat. That dream felt too real. It couldn't possibly be real, could it? On days 13 to 15, I ran over to Donkey to have a chat with him about my dream. He had a lot to say about it.
A beautiful ogre? What do you mean a beautiful ogre? Can you smell yourself right now? You're telling me there's a beautiful you out there?
I get it. But come on, you've been to the castle before, right? Surely you must have seen something.
Well, I've been to the farms and the dungeons. Sounds like you definitely saw the dungeons. Never been in the castle though, so I can't say if there's a beautiful ogre inside or not.
Well, what about the henchman? Have you seen someone like that before?
Oh, the henchman. Talk about a real creepy creep. That guy never says a word.
I don't know, you're making him sound kind of nice.
That guy will just stare at you, and they say he's never lost a fight. If you think you're gonna go beat him up, you better think again.
Well, maybe we won't go get in a fight, but I think we need to go and just see what's going on there. If my family is really there, I've got to help rescue them. Since I was still pretty small, Donkey let me ride on his back. He kept chatting my ear off until we came to a bridge. It's so foggy here. Let's cross this by foot. Donkey and I started crossing the bridge when we soon came across a troll.
Answer my question on the first try, or get it wrong and prepare to die.
A question? Sure, go ahead.
What is your name?
My name? It's Zozo.
What? But you're the green ogre from that movie. That's not your name.
Donkey, what is he talking about?
Don't look at me. I have no idea.
Oh, whatever. On guard.
The troll attacked us. We couldn't waste any more time with this guy. Did he really think I didn't know my own name? Donkey managed to get him lined up against the railing and headbutted him over the edge.
I'll be back.
I guess he thinks he'll survive the fall. Come on, Donkey, let's go. Donkey and I continued across the bridge, coming across the other side. On day 16 to 19, we were continuing toward the castle when we saw a village in the distance. Greetings, humans! The villagers immediately started to scream and run away. Donkey did say I smelled bad, but I didn't think it was that bad. Since everyone had run away, I figured I may as well help myself to some of their crops. I managed to get myself plenty of wheat and a nice stack of seeds. Well, at least now I can start a wheat farm of my own. As I went to grab some more crops, there was a noise in the trees, and the huge wildkin came out of the forest. Whoa, no wonder those humans were all running away. They must have been scared of you. Donkey, stay back! I tried to fight him, but he was too strong. I started running away when suddenly a tiny cat came out of nowhere, taking out the wildkin. Whoa, you're super strong. We could use someone like you on our team.
I am flattered, senor, but please, I have my own mission to complete.
It's okay, I understand. We'll see you around then.
You will not see me, but I may see you.
Okay. On days 20 to 22, Donkey and I could see the castle in the distance. As we got closer, we saw that there was a village on the edge that was completely falling apart. What happened to this village? Why is it so run down this close to the castle? Donkey had no idea either. We decided to wait in the village for nighttime, then we'd go take a look around. Once night had come, we snuck up to the castle walls and used some blocks to stack up and look over the top. What I saw shocked me. Oh no, the ogres! The king's knights had gathered even more ogres, and look who was inspecting them. The henchman from my dream. He's real. I wonder if that means everything else is real too. Just then, I noticed someone looking out from the castle balcony. It was the girl from my dream. Wow, she's even more beautiful in real life. Just then, I heard a shout behind me. A guard had found me and was calling for backup. I had no choice but to fight him off. We exchanged blows, but I managed to knock him out pretty easily. Just then, there was a huge surge of energy, and I grew to be even bigger than before. I felt stronger than before, too. I looked up at the girl on the balcony and could see she had noticed me. I had no time to say anything, though, as I was suddenly surrounded by more knights. I had to get out of there. Here's something for ya. I let out a little fart, and jumped off the wall into a pond. Some guards were trying to capture Donkey, so I hurried to help him out. I was too big to ride him now, though. We were going to have to run. Donkey, it's the henchman. Come on, let's get out of here. We ran off into the forest, losing them in the trees. Before we got too far away, though, I hopped up a tree to get one more look at the princess. That's when a tiny child prince, no wait, it was a man. A tiny man grabbed her and pulled her inside. That must have been the king. He's trying to hide her away, just like my family. I'll be back for all of them. On days 23 to 26, Donkey and I arrived back at the base. I went to go look at the sheep and saw they had made a nice stack of wool for me. Turns out, they had been shearing themselves. Wow, these guys are even smarter than I thought.
Yeah, we heard that.
Then I went over to take a look at my cocoa beans and saw they had grown in. I'll be able to make even more brown dye now. Since I had gathered a bunch of seeds from the village, I also got right to work setting up a wheat farm. Rotten flesh gave me a superpower, but I couldn't just eat that all the time. Not to mention, I'm gonna be able to make cookies. Who doesn't want that? Next up, I got to work expanding the base. If I was going to rescue the princess and have her come back to live here, she needed to be impressed. I decided that I would make my base feel more like a castle, so she would feel just as fancy. With the improvements finished, it was finally time to get back to work on that statue. With my new brown wool, I was able to start building the statue the way I was imagining it. I thought it was looking a lot better. By the way, we're going to need all the help we can get in order to save the princess, so click the subscribe button or we'll never win. On days 27 to 31, I headed out of my base to go look for more supplies. As I explored, I realized the swamp had changed. I was in a mangrove swamp. This place was definitely much more spooky than the swamp I called home. But why are there so many bats? I was so distracted by the bats, I almost didn't see the zombies and skeletons who attacked me. Uh-oh, don't get too close to me, get away! I got some hits in, but there were too many of them. Their arrows were really starting to hurt too. And just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, even more zombies and skeletons jumped into the fight. I think this might be the end for me. When all hope seemed lost, another ogre suddenly came running over. He was really strong too, knocking mobs out left and right. Whoa, where did you come from? This ogre even used a burp ability, but it was way more powerful than mine. He also had an explosive fart attack that was really clearing the place out. Together, we fought off the rest of the mobs and finally had a chance to chat. Thank you for saving me. I thought it was the end for me.
You're strong, but you could be stronger. Come with me.
The ogre led me deeper into the swamp, and we eventually came across a small hut. I like your house, but what are you doing out here all alone?
I used to live with my family, but the king's men came and captured them. I was much weaker then, so all I could do is run away. I've been out here training and honing my abilities, so that one day I could save them.
Well, you seem pretty strong to me. Why haven't you tried to save them yet?
The truth is, I'm too scared. Saving you is the first time I've really tried using my full abilities in a full fight. It worked, but I don't know.
Well, maybe if we fight together? Although I'm not nearly as strong as you are.
Well, that's not a problem. I can teach you everything I know.
That would be amazing! On days 32 to 35, my training began. My new friend, whose name was SHREK, had me doing all kinds of crazy exercises. First off, I had to run around a track, which he said would help build up my endurance. After a few laps, we headed over to the bag to get some punches in.
Smack that bag like you mean it. What are you, a pixie?
After that was the scariest one, walking the beam over a pool of lava. SHREK seemed to really enjoy watching me do that one. Next was parkour.
Jump, Zozo, jump. Deliver the unexpected. No one is ready for a leaping ogre.
Next was swordplay with the dummies, but more than that, I was learning to fight multiple bad guys at once. After that, I ran over to the rope climb and made my way to the top. Done! That wasn't so bad.
Yes, good for you. Now do it again.
After many hours of training, SHREK pulled me aside to chat.
Okay, let's see that burp power of yours. What are you using to power it?
I ate some rotten flesh and let out a burp.
That's really not bad. But to truly complete your training, you must defeat the king slime.
SHREK told me where I needed to go, and I set off for my next challenge. After a while, I could see the king slime hopping atop a hill, wearing his crown. Bring it on, slime ball! I jumped into battle, swinging my sword. I had fought slime before, but this guy was definitely stronger than any of the other ones. His jello punches were certainly powerful. If I can just remember my training, I can defeat him. I thought about the jumping, the balance, the strengthening. All of it had built me for this moment. I swung my sword for a final time, destroying the slime king. Got him! I noticed that he had dropped something. Suspicious stew. Oh, gross. This is probably made of slime. At least I don't have to eat it. I took off to go tell SHREK that my training was complete. On days 36 to 39, I had arrived back at SHREK's house. Well, I've done it. I defeated the slime king.
Very nicely done, but your training is not complete.
What do you mean? I thought I just had to beat the slime king.
There's still one more thing to be done. That suspicious stew? Eat it.
Oh man, you can't be serious. I took out the stew and drank it down. My stomach started to rumble. This didn't feel right. Suddenly, I let out a huge fart, blowing a hole in the wall. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that.
But now you can mean to do that. Your fart ability is now yours to control.
We got right to work fixing up his shack. I was really excited about my new power. Once the shack was fixed, I invited SHREK to come live at my base with me.
Thanks for the offer, but I think I'll stay out here and continue my training. But here, take these enchantments. They will help you be faster in water and do more damage to the undead.
I stepped over to SHREK's anvil and added the enchantments to my sword. I was already feeling better about my chances. I soon left SHREK Grek's house and started journeying back to my base. Along the way, I ran into some more zombies and skeletons like before, but this time, I was all powered up. With my new fart power locked and loaded, I managed to blow them out of my way while I hit them with my sword. Amazing that only a few days ago this would have ended me, and now I could fight them off with ease. On days 40 to 43, I arrived back at my base, but it was under attack. As I got closer, I could see a Zautar was attacking. Hang on, Donkey, I'm coming to help. Donkey had been doing his best to defend the sheep, but I could tell he was losing. It's a good thing I had gotten there when I did. The Zautar was really tough. Let's see how you like the smell of this. I unleashed my new fart bombs, which he really didn't like. To be fair, no one else around seemed to really like it either, apart from the fact it was only hurting the bad guy. At long last, I was able to land the final blow and destroy the Zautar for good. That's when I saw he dropped an enchanted book. Oh look, it's an efficiency enchantment. I could use this to mine more material faster. Donkey heard what I said and came over to chat.
I saw some funny looking blue rocks in a cave nearby. That mean anything to you?
Sounds like diamonds. I headed over to the cave Donkey had found, and sure enough, it had several diamond blocks. I hopped on down and managed to quickly mine out a bunch of them. These will be great for upgrading our gear. Back at the base, I went over to the crafting table and used my newly gathered diamonds. I was able to make Donkey a new set of armor. Then I used what was left to make myself a new set of tools, including a sword. I'll have to find more later to make armor, but this will work great for now. On days 44 to 49, I wanted to improve the base to look even more like a castle, so I headed out to find some more materials. As I was exploring the swamp, I came across some old ruins. It had the perfect blocks I needed to improve the base. Problem was, it was full of banshees. Oh, you guys are so creepy. The banshee was really scary, but I had a base that needed to look cool, so how could I let a creepy monster like that keep me out? I kept mining out as much material as I could while fighting banshees off along the way. And look at these chests. They have lots of emeralds inside. I'll have to find something good to do with these. Soon enough, I had gathered all of the material I needed and got out of there. On days 50 to 53, I returned to my base and started using the materials I had gathered. I never thought I would be someone who lived in a castle, but the look was really starting to grow on me. Once I had finished with my improvements for the day, I did a little bit more work on the statue. The sheep had given me a fresh stack of wool, so it was the right time to get going on the next part of the build. As I was building, I thought about how funny it would be to meet a talking gingerbread man. That would just be crazy. As I was finishing up the statue, I heard a croak nearby and saw a group of frogs.
Hey, we've been watching you and seeing what you're building out here. It's mad impressive.
Thanks, guys. Glad you think so.
We do. We were also hoping we could live here, too. We've just been thinking, if the king is capturing green things like you, what's gonna stop him from capturing green things like us? We'd feel much safer living here.
It's hard to argue with that logic. Let me get you guys set up. With the frogs ready to move in, I had to hurry and build them their own place. It wasn't anything super fancy, but I'm pretty sure it was fancy enough for a frog. Soon, it was complete, and the frogs were able to all move in. On days 54 to 57, I went to go see Donkey, but he was gone. I looked around and saw a note had been left behind. Looks like he decided to go find me some diamonds. Very recklessly, I must add. I better go find him. He could easily get into trouble. The frogs were awake, so I went over to them to ask if they had seen where Donkey had gone. They said they had seen him wandering off and pointed me in the direction I needed to go. I wandered off really far from the base, but still couldn't find him. Just then, I could hear him crying out in the distance. I ran toward the noise, but stopped before I got too close. Donkey was under attack by a group of knights, led by the henchmen. I watched from a distance as they demanded to know where my base was. Lucky for me, and for the first time in his life, Donkey didn't say a word. They started taking him away. Hang on, buddy, I'm coming to rescue you. But before I could charge in, a Zautar started attacking the group of knights. The henchman quickly swung his sword and defeated it in no time. Oh man, he beat them so fast. There's no way I could take him on now. Best thing I can do is follow them. As I followed the band of knights, we soon arrived in a savannah where I could see they were taking Donkey into a fortress. This must be the henchman's personal base. I'll have to get geared up and come back. Stay strong, Donkey. On days 58 to 62, I made my way to Grek's hut out in the swamp. I was going to have to get a lot stronger if I was going to save Donkey. I soon arrived and met up with Grek. I have bad news. Donkey has been captured by the henchmen. I need to get stronger so I can rescue him.
Well, the henchman, you say? I may have something that can help with that.
He explained that he had been working on special ogre armor, but needed some specific materials to finish crafting it. But in order to get it, I had to travel to the Mushroom Islands. Blah, more mushrooms. I thought I had left those behind for good, but for Donkey, I'll do it. I traveled back out into the world and eventually made it to the Mushroom Islands. As I walked along, I was suddenly attacked by a bunch of mungai. Eating mushrooms was bad enough. Now I have to fight them too? These guys were a crazy little bunch, and I was getting sick of them trying to hurt me. I wasn't strong enough to fight the henchmen, but I was more than strong enough to knock these guys out of the way. Just then, I saw something terrible. Is that a giant mungus? The monster was throwing mushrooms at me too. It felt like this entire place was made just to taunt me for my dislike for mushrooms. I managed to get cover behind some giant mushrooms and jumped out to strike. The strategy worked well, and eventually I landed the final blow. That's enough living mushrooms for me. I saw the giant mungus had dropped a death cap mushroom. This must be what Grek was after. Just then, I felt my strength begin to grow, and I grew into a full-sized ogre. And look how many hearts I have now. On days 63 to 66, I had left the Mushroom Islands and returned to Grek's house.
Zozo, look at you. You're all leveled up. You look great.
And I even got the mushroom you were looking for. Grek was so excited, and he quickly got to work. After a few moments, the new armor was ready, which he gave to me. This new armor fits great, and is so strong. I can't believe mushrooms could be used for something I'd actually like. I asked Grek if he was sure he wanted to stay here, and this time, he agreed to move to my base with me. He said after I had left, he was feeling a new kind of loneliness, and decided he would be happier with me and everyone else. Back at the base, I got right to work, constructing him his own place to live. I was glad he had decided to move in with everyone. No one should have to live such a lonely life. Soon, I had finished building his place.
Thanks for this, Zozo. I'm glad you were so weak I had to save you.
Aha, very funny. But I'm glad you're here too. How do you feel about going on a second rescue mission? I feel like I'm ready to save Donkey.
I'm sorry. I wish I could, but I don't think I can. I'm just too scared. There's something about that henchman that makes it too hard for me to face him. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know that with all of your training, I'll be able to do it. He smiled as we both looked off in the distance. I had subscribed to his methods and was rewarded. Now you just need to subscribe so we can keep adventuring together. After a long day, I headed back to my house. That's when I realized I could no longer fit through the front door. Oh man, this is no good. Well, just one way to fix it. I backed up and charged at the doorway, breaking the block with my head. Now I was able to enter my house and close the door. Ah, perfect. On days 67 to 70, I had arrived back at the henchman's fort. It was time to save Donkey. I feel like with my strength and armor, nothing can stop me, even the henchmen. I ran up to the fort, knocking guards out of my way. I used every attack I had, doing my best to take as little damage as possible. The new armor was pretty amazing though, and I felt very protected. There were a lot of knights here, but I wasn't afraid. Don't worry, Donkey, here I come. I kept pushing and knocking knights out of my way. As I fought, I had also picked up a crossbow. I figured that might come in handy at some point. Eventually, I had made it outside the henchman's room. It was time. On day 71 to 74, I stepped into the henchman's room. I could see him sitting on a throne. Donkey was nearby too, trapped in his cage. He was pretty happy to see me.
Zozo, you're here!
Let my friend go, or prepare to be destroyed. The henchman didn't say anything. I guess you really don't talk, do you? Aha! We leapt into battle, exchanging blows. It was made clear really quickly, I wasn't ready for this fight. Even with my new strength and armor, I was getting beat. I tried my burping attacks and my farting explosions, and nothing seemed to hurt him. But just then, Donkey called out with some advice.
Zozo, the switch! Hit the switch on the wall!
That's when I noticed that it was connected to a cage hanging from the ceiling. I got the henchman lined up under it, then hit the button, dropping the cage.
You did it! I'm saved!
Free at last! Free at last!
I broke Donkey's cage, letting him out. I saw that there was a treasure chest nearby, so I went over to search it. This thing is full of netherite. That must be how his armor is so strong. I collected everything so I could use it later. I also opened a note from the king. According to this note, the ogre from the castle is an actual princess, not just a princess to me. Now I really have to rescue her. On days 75 to 78, Donkey and I busted out of the fort and made our way back to the base. Once we were back, Donkey pulled me aside to chat.
Oh man, Zozo, I feel terrible. I'm glad to see you didn't get hurt trying to rescue me.
It's okay, Donkey. You've just got to be more careful next time. That reminded me, I could never be too careful and needed to upgrade my gear. Using the netherite I had taken from the henchman, I was able to upgrade my pickaxe, shovel, sword, and axe. Next up, base improvements. Enchanting was a key part of improving my equipment, so I decided to add in some bookshelves to beef up the enchantment table's abilities. Then I headed outside and worked on the entryway, replacing all the woodwork with stone. Now I could have a proper door, too. Later on, I was inside my house when Greg came to talk to me.
Someone has been busy. This place looks great. I found something that I thought you could use.
Greg tossed out a fire aspect book. Oh, awesome! This is just what I needed. I grabbed the book and headed over to my enchanting table. Using the enchantment, I upgraded my netherite sword. Now it had a cool fire effect to it. Now I'll be too hot to handle. On day 79 to 84, I was too tempted to try out the new sword, so I took it out to the swamp. There were some jungle zombies nearby, so I got right to work, putting it to the test. Oh man, this thing is a beast. I can't wait to use it against some castle knights. Just then, a creeper snuck up behind me and exploded. Ah, that really hurt. But what's that? The creeper's explosion had opened up a hidden cave. As I looked over the edge, another creeper exploded behind me, knocking me in. As I went into the cave, I saw it was filled with monsters. Oh, why couldn't it have been full of jewels? Or even better, cookies? I kept fighting my way through, taking some good hits, though my new equipment was next level, and I was able to cut through many rounds of baddies. As I continued fighting, I soon saw the cave open into a bigger room with a big mushroom in the middle. What's the deal with all the mushrooms everywhere? Suddenly, the mushroom exploded, revealing a monster. Wow, why is this here? What was going on? It's like my entire life was mocking my distaste for mushrooms, but
by making all the mushrooms I came across attack me. This just wasn't cool. Back off, you evil demon mushroom. Trust me, I don't want to eat you. This guy was super freaky, but I would rather eat a mushroom than be destroyed by one. I swung my fire sword and finally took it out. As he disappeared, I saw it dropped a giant mushroom. I picked it up, but saw its inscription said that I should eat it only in times of need. Who knows? Maybe it could come in handy. On days 85 to 89, I had made it back to the base and went to talk to Greg. I told him all about how well the sword had worked and even about my battle with the mushrooms. I don't think he believed me, but he said he did. I finally feel like I'm ready to try and rescue my family. It was then that I remembered how the ogre princess will need somewhere to live once we broke her out, and this place was far from being nice enough for royalty. So with that in mind, I got to work, adding even more upgrades to the base. Hopefully no one else would want to attack us, but if they did, we'd need to build a decent wall. It was going to be a simple addition, but I think it made a big difference. Speaking of builds, I decided it was time to finish the statue. I was really liking how the gingerbread man was looking. It was almost like he could start talking at any moment. As I finished up, I remembered I had planted ingredients to make my own cookies. I knew what I had to do next. On days 90 to 94, I spent the days gathering up as much wheat and cocoa as I could. I was going to need a lot of ingredients for all the cookies I had to make. If I'm going to bake these cookies right though, I need a proper kitchen. I thought the place looked a little classier with a better kitchen too. Once the kitchen was complete, I made as many cookies as I could. With all the cookies baked, I then spent the day passing out all the cookies to my new friends. I told them all how I was sad my family had been kidnapped, but was grateful for each of them. We really felt like a big, happy, adopted family. With all the cookies passed out, it was time to go to the castle. Before I could leave though, Donkey came to talk to me.
Zozo, you really think I'm gonna let you go charging in there all alone?
You'll have to let me, Donkey. You remember how dangerous it was. And plus, if things go wrong, everyone here will need someone to lead them. I can't think of anyone better than you. Donkey was really grateful to be so trusted and thanked me for being his friend. That was that, and it was time to go. On days 95 to 97, I was traveling back toward the castle when I came across a weird robot stuck in the sand. Hang on, little guy, I'll help you. I rushed over to him and dug him out with a shovel. Yahoo, thank you. I was worried my battery was going to run out. Hey, wait a second. Have we met? Are you serious? Of course we have. I'm you. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot I spent 100 days as a robot. That was one of the craziest adventures. That fat cat was so greedy. Oh man, tell me about it. It was also sad. We lost some good friends along the way. Very true. I'm hoping I can save some family and friends right now. Wait, you're in the middle of an adventure right now? What are you talking to me for? Go, go, go! The little robot zoomed away. Yeah, I better get going. But seriously, after this video, go check out my robot adventure. A while later, I arrived back in the village outside of the castle. I could see the place was full of knights who were being mean to the villagers. Hey you, leave them alone! I charged in and started taking out all of the knights. I wasn't afraid of anyone now that I was big and strong. Soon enough, the knights were all defeated and some villagers came over to me.
Thank you for rescuing us. But you're an ogre? We had always heard ogres were evil.
Yeah, well, it might be best to not always judge people by how they look or believe everything you hear. Some people might surprise you. Just then, I noticed more knights and rushed off to fight. I couldn't believe people could say such mean things about ogres. I had to hurry and save everyone. Then they'd see how nice ogres really are. On day 98, I entered the castle grounds. The guards continued to swarm in, attacking me like a pack of hornets. As I fought them, I noticed that I was being watched. Up on the balcony, I could see the tiny king and the princess. Don't worry, I'm coming! The tiny king pulled her back into the room. I had to hurry. I managed to fight off the rest of the knights, then headed into the tower. I entered the throne room, but the king wasn't there. The henchman, get out of my way. The henchman stared at me and said nothing. You give me the creeps. What do you think about this? I walked up to him and threw out a cookie. He picked up the cookie and stared at it. Even though he didn't say anything, I could tell he was confused. Distraction! Hi-ya! I swung my sword and hit him, lighting him on fire. He swung back and the fight was on. I couldn't back down this time, and there was no cages to trap him in. It was either him or me. How can you support the king? He's hurting innocent animals and ogres. The henchman didn't care and kept hitting me with his heavy blows. I was stronger, but he was still just as dangerous as ever. Our fight had led us to the top of some stairs and into a narrow hallway. It was a close battle, and I was starting to wonder if I could actually beat him. I managed to land a good hit when suddenly his helmet disintegrated and he was revealed to be an ogre. What the? You're an ogre? But wait a second, why do you look so familiar? Just then, the wall exploded and Greg came through the wall.
Zozo, wait! This ogre, he's my brother.
Your brother? Just then, the henchman spoke. Greg, you old softy, get out of my way.
No, Shrek, I've been too afraid of you for too long. Zozo here has taught me what it means to be brave.
Oh, how cute. You've got yourself your first friend. No wonder, you're both losers.
Zozo, you go on and save the princess. I'll handle my brother. His greed has caused him to forget what matters in life.
Handle me, will ya? I'll show you.
I hurried and ran out of the room as I heard the two ogres begin to fight. I had to get to the princess. On day 99, I ran into the next room and recognized it as the tower from my dream. That's when a bunch of knights started attacking me again. You little tin heads better get out of my way. I knocked them out left and right, throwing them down the stairs. I was going to make it to the top no matter what. Eventually, I reached the top and opened the fancy doors. The king and princess were inside. How can you call yourself a king, hurting innocent animals and creatures in your kingdom?
A king? Please. I am a lord. Lord Farquaad.
All right then, Lord Farquaad, your cruelty has gone on long enough. This is the end.
Not so fast, ogre.
Suddenly, Lord Farquaad pulled out a potion and drank it down. He grew and turned into a horrible-looking monster, blowing the roof off the castle.
Oh, who is the big guy now? Wait, why is my voice an even higher pitch than before? Whatever. Bye-bye, ogre.
He attacked. I don't know what he drank, but he definitely wasn't the little guy anymore. His hits really hurt. I managed to get some hits on him, but even on fire, he couldn't be stopped.
You pesky ogres, your time is over.
Just then, I remembered something. The magical growth mushroom. I was really hoping I'd never have to use this. Hopefully it helps. I gulped down the mushroom. It was disgusting, but it worked. I grew to a massive size, and I gained even more hearts. Oh yeah, I'll show you who the big guy is.
It doesn't matter. I'll still defeat you.
We jumped at each other and continued to fight. He was strong, but I was stronger. Why are you doing this? Why are you keeping all these ogres as prisoners?
You see that ugly brute standing over there? I paid good money for someone to go and pick her up for me. And when she arrived, she had been cursed by a witch. How could I ever love something that looks like that?
Wow, this guy was such a jerk. How could he be so mean? He had started doing ground attacks too, which did some real damage.
They told me that she would look like that until she fell in love. Can you believe that? So I figured I could just get her to fall in love with another ugly ogre. Then once she was back to normal, I could take her back. But you ogres aren't just ugly, you're violent too.
Clearly you don't understand how love works, and you definitely don't understand ogres. It was time to end this. I focused as hard as I could and landed the final blow. The fire then finished him off. He was defeated. Princess, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for getting rid of him. By the way, my name is Fiona.
Fiona, it's great to finally meet you. I'm Zozo. I'm sorry to hear you've been cursed. Is there anything we can do to help that?
No, unfortunately, curse rules are curse rules. Only way to break it is if I fall in love. But you know what? I actually really like being an ogre. Every ogre I've talked to has been so nice. And besides, love takes time to blossom. It's not something that can happen overnight.
That's true. Hopefully you find the right person someday. But in the meantime, could you help me? I have to rescue my family.
I know where the ogres are being held. Follow me.
On day 100, I followed Fiona down and into the dungeons. My family was all here. Guys, it's me, Zozo. I'm here to rescue you. Fiona and I broke all the cages, letting everyone free. They couldn't believe I had made it all the way here to rescue them. It was a great reunion. Before I left, though, I met back up with Greg. He was looking over the balcony and was sad. Greg, what happened with your brother?
We had an epic fight, and I managed to corner him on this balcony. It was clear I was going to beat him, and he jumped over the edge and escaped. Before he left, though, he said he was going to find himself out in the swamp. I can only hope he finds himself a good friend like I did, who can help him become a better man.
Wow, I hope so too. By the way, this is Fiona.
Charmed to meet you, lassie.
Likewise.
Maybe love could blossom faster than we thought. We soon left the castle and returned to the base. Donkey was really excited to see me, and we all celebrated. It looked like the swamp was once again a safe place to live. For now.